is Adam Krause. I was born and raised here in Clear Lake, South Dakota. I turned 31 yesterday. Born, bred, raised here on a pig farm and a row crop farm. Here we raise corn, soybeans, and a little bit of wheat and oats as well. And my dad's had pigs for as long as I can remember. His first barn was built in the year 2000. And now he's got 4 finisher barns, and I actually built the nursery myself in 2016 when I graduated college. So graduated high school in 2012 and didn't know what I wanted to do long term, whether there was a place for me back home, whether there's enough income. As you know, James, a lot of people have those conversations in the agricultural field these days. So decided to go to SDSU in Brookings, not too far away. So it was great to be able to come home, help with planting and harvest, and still, get a 4-year degree and 4-year experience there. And then probably about halfway through my junior year, it started to become clear that an opportunity would be available for me to build my own nursery barn and be my own boss for half the day. And as you guys can tell, there's always something else to do the other half of the day. So yeah, that's K&K Farms, that's Supreme Pork, that's me growing pigs in a nutshell.
K&K Farms is kind of the official entity that you and your dad run, is that?
It's interesting. Everybody, corporate farming, quote unquote, gets a bad name, but I mean, I'm part of 3 entities myself. I'm starting to buy into K&K Farms. That was something started by my dad and my grandpa Edwin Krause back in, I don't even know how long that goes back. And then Supreme Pork Incorporated, I don't have any ownership or affiliation with them other than that I'm a contract grower for that company. And then I run Krause Brothers LLC. Me and my brother run that for a little bit of a farming operation. And then I'm a sole proprietor for my nursery. So
there's a lot that goes into being a professional farmer these days. What made you think, when you were a junior or so in college, that there was an opportunity here and that you wanted to seize that opportunity to be your professional?
I guess a little bit of a combination of things, to be honest. One, I was very blessed to be, my dad's my boss, but he's also one of my biggest role models too. The best way I can describe it, he's a man of many hats. He wears them really well, and sometimes I wonder if he should take off one and put on another here and there, but that's a story for another day. But I was able to do 3 internships throughout my 4 years of college. I did one at South Dakota Soybean Processors right there in Volga, South Dakota. One summer I got to go to JBS Worthington and work on their ham line and do some yield tests and things like that. So I got to look around the ag industry as a whole and see, where do I fit? What would be fun? What interests me? But at the end of the day, I still found myself really kind of longing to come home on weekends and see where I could help or what I could do, or see my friends and family that I'd known my whole life and share in my community. So that was one thing that kind of spurred it. The other was just honestly kind of a little bit of luck and opportunity too. One of the great opportunities that we're able to take advantage of is we like pumping our hog manure and hog fertilizer on wheat and oat stubble. And what that does is, one, we're able to get pumpers because, everybody either pumps in the fall or they pump in the spring. And it's just a very busy time frame for, a finite amount of people in the custom pumping business to get to absolutely everybody out there. It's just a difficult time of year.
So what you're saying is you pump, we're in the fall, September, but it's not when most people, you're talking later fall after the corn and soybeans come off is when most people pump.
Correct. A lot of people pump on soybean stubble for the following year's corn crop.
So you have some other crops that you throw in there just so you can kind of change that dynamic of when you pump and what you're putting on your fields.
Correct. We're able to run a 3-crop rotation, the 3rd crop either being wheat or oats. And we're able to pump at a different time of year.
The wheat or the oats, they can get harvested earlier, probably August, I'm guessing, so they can come off, and you can get those pumping. And then I'm assuming that by doing that, you see some different yields and some different benefits to your corn and soybean rotation?
Definitely, yep. And another big one on that this day and age is weed pressure too. Having that 3rd crop in your rotation and maybe being able to spray some different chemistries out there to help some weed control is really helpful as well. So a young producer like me who's maybe not, you watch the cattle market, I watch the pig market, James, and it can be kind of scary and when the phone rings, a lot of times it's sometimes a margin call, and we all know that means you got to put more money in the kitty to make sure you're covered risk-wise. So being a young producer like myself, that's a lot to bite off, more than I can chew, or at least we thought going into it. So being a contract grower, I do have some skin in the game. I mean, I've got my barn and my bank payment that I need to make each month. Value added is different in some meetings, but for us, it's just being able to spread our time and make sure we're working efficiently to have the best ROI for our farm and our businesses.
At the end of the day, you're not just growing crops, you're adding livestock, not just growing livestock, but you're contracting that out through another entity, adding your brother with a seed cleaning business. I mean, you guys are really staying busy to add value to all that ground, and that's what allows you guys to make a living here. I just think that's really commendable. A lot of times people, talk about the doom and gloom in agriculture, and I get it, it's tough. I'm involved in the business as well, but there's a lot of upside too. And if you want to get into this business as a young guy, are there opportunities for young people in agriculture?
I think there are. I think it's twofold though too. One, you've got to be able to think outside the box. Like you mentioned, there's a ton of value-added programs, a ton of bankers and FSA programs out there for young and beginning farmers. But then again, at the end of the day, we don't want just a handout. We want something sustainable. We want opportunity, not something to just keep us afloat. And I'm beyond blessed that my dad and my brother are able to help me with that opportunity, and effort is sometimes a little more valuable than money at the end of the day. So this is my nursery barn. It looks very similar to any other barns we looked at, but we call this a nursery barn just because it's specifically made for a nursery-sized pig. In the pork industry, a lot of pigs are weaned between 21 to 28 days. We hover around that 21 to 24 days more so. But then after that, they're weaned from the sow and they come here. So at that point, they're 3 weeks old. They're about 14 pounds, so just like about the size of a little Jack Russell Terrier running through here. This barn has capacity to hold 3,900 head of little pigs, so it keeps me plenty busy and I do my best to care for each and every one of them to the best of my ability.
I got a lot of room to run around here.
Absolutely.
They're healthy and lay it out, whatever they want to do, so for sure.
At the end of the day, my job is relatively simple. It's to come in here and make sure that the pigs are warm, that their environment's correct, that they have fresh feed and water. We want to make sure that we're good caretakers and good stewards and taking care of our animals to the best of our ability, because when the pigs do well, so do the farmers.
You ever just come in here on a bad day and get cheered up because you got a lot of little pigs?
I do. It's a good place just to come and, yeah.
I raise cattle, and there's some times where you know what? I'm going to my ranch. I'm gonna go check on my cows and hang out with my calves, and it makes the world make more sense.
This barn was built by my dad in 2000. I still remember them pouring the pit floor and us kids getting, Mom had to haul us over here and put rollerblades on because we'd never seen a big enough piece of concrete out here in the country that big that we got to rollerblade on. So they're in my nursery from 8 weeks, that 14 to 50, 60 pounds. So once that's complete and I'm through all my rations, those pigs will come on a truck to a finisher barn, much like this one, and they'll be here for roughly 16 weeks or 4 months. I would say right now these pigs there's a few smaller ones in the mix there too. They're probably anywhere from 225 to 250. Once we take our first cut, some of those pigs might be hitting that 300, 310 mark, while some of our smaller pigs might even be around that 270 to 280 mark and just need a few more days to get to that optimal weight.
We're in here, there's a nice breeze going through here. There's not hardly any odor. It's pretty clean. I mean, all their waste goes down below them. They just seem happy, content, healthy, comfortable. We're doing a really good job of just trying to keep these animals comfortable. And for a few reasons. One, it's what's going to help them perform the best and gain the best, which that helps us make the most money. And two, it's just the right thing to do.
Absolutely. Yep, can't agree more. At the end of the day, it's what's good for the pig is usually what's good for the farmer.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel proud of what we accomplished and how good they're doing, and you know, that my hard work is being carried through by the next caretaker as well.
And that you're providing a whole lot of really good nutrition, protein for a lot of people across the country.
We're doing our best across the country and across the world for sure.
Yep. I mean, that's a big plump ear of corn.
Yep, absolutely. And some years, depending on the rain and our nitrogen availability and our fertilizer program, we'll see this top of this ear. You might hear people call it tip back. Basically, it fills from bottom to top, and you can kind of see these little ones are a little more awkward, maybe a little less mature, but yeah, this has been a really good ear, and it looks like we had enough rain this year that it was able to access all the nitrogen we put out here and form a pretty good ear. So they call that the milk line, kind of between the yellow and the white spot of the corn. As it dries down, that yellow will go all the way toward the bottom.
Sure. And
you'll have just a little less of a white spot, basically. We're a little bit different than some. A lot of farmers like to, you know, maybe take a drive with their combine, take a sample, check the moisture, and if they say, you know, gosh, it's still 21 or 24, they might wait a week to 10 days and let that try and dry down naturally. A lot of hybrids we're seeing, depending on the weather and especially the year we've had, I feel this year, I think there's going to be a lot of 22 to 24% corn being combined this year. And we're the same way. We combine all our soybeans first. We take a day off, kind of switch over combines, do some maintenance, and we roll right into corn. I tell you what, James, if we had cattle, things would maybe be a little different. Maybe we'd let it drive down, but there's a lot of university studies out there that they say the optimal time to combine corn is anywhere from 17% to 21%. Just because, or it's probably over 21% too, to be honest. Because if it gets any drier, the combine is coming in and it's got some rollers on the bottom, and it's basically taking this stalk, probably not right now because it's still pretty green yet. We've got a little more drying to do, but it's taking this stalk and ripping it down, and basically this ear just pops up and is brought into the head. Well, that violent of a shock and a shuck down on this stalk, I mean, you can just see it. The header loss is what they call it. The ear just explodes if it's too dry.
So if it's drier, it blows apart more and you don't get as much into the combine.
Correct, more of a popcorn effect.
So a couple of percent moisture, you might get a little bit better yield out.
Correct.
Excellent.
But like I mentioned with cattle, some guys don't mind waiting a little bit, and they put their
they'll come out here
and graze it.
Cows will clean that up.
Nature's natural recycle.
You know, you guys are pumping your manure pits now, so you guys will apply that to this a year from now, maybe?
So we're usually on about a 3-year rotation.
On a 3 year.
So it'll go from wheat, like it is now, we'll apply it for next year's corn crop.
Okay.
And then from corn it goes to soybeans.
So next year this will be soybeans.
Correct.
And ideally the year after that it'll be wheat or oats, and then you'll apply that manure.
Correct.
So it's still a closed system, it just takes about a 3-year cycle to do that.
Yep, correct.
Excellent. You're thinking 3, 4, 5 years out in this business a lot of times.
Yeah, you have to. And a lot of that too is just to make sure we have enough acres, one, available to supply our manure, because I mean, we need anywhere from 500 to 650 acres of manure ground available just to make sure we get our pits.
Every year?
Every year, yep.
hauling a
fast.
whole tank full of hog manure.
Correct.
What's
Yeah.
that weigh roughly? Any idea?
I couldn't tell you what it weighs. Roughly 7,300 gallon though, so
7,000 gallons. So you're talking
probably take that times, I'd imagine
8 or
10-ish,
10
something
or-
like that.
So you're talking a good, and plus the weight of the tractor, you're probably talking 80,000 pounds here or something rolling
Yep.
down this road.
Yep. This is a harvested oats field, so
Field.
we'll pull in here and
And you had to do, I'm assuming, some soil testing, and you know exactly kind of what you're putting on here, the nutrient levels.
correct. Yep.
And a lot of that is just, it's pretty high in nitrogen. And then next year you're going to put corn on here that needs a lot of that nitrogen
Correct. Yes, sir.
in a simple context.
Yep. So it looks like Chauncey's done and coming back empty here, so I'm gonna buzz over here and get out of his way to maybe start my own little line and get out of their
And then we
way.
get to see how straight you can drive.
Well, the tractor's gonna help me do that, thank goodness. I think one of those guys has auto steer and one of them doesn't, but they're better operators than me, James. I'll tell you that for free. So
And we're just kind of going away from where they've already done it.
yep,
Fill that
yep.
in.
Just kind of picking another spot here. So tractor's driving itself now, so that's one less thing I have to worry about. So they're actually spreading at about 9 miles an hour, actually. So
Okay.
I can use my auto steer and not have to really touch my throttle, and we're right where we
So
need
it's
to be.
4,000 gallons an acre. Is what it's
Correct.
putting
Yep.
out.
Yep. Forgot to click my clicker when we were loading.
Your bale counter.
That my bale counter, yep. My load counter. So this is pit number 4, and we've got 2 more plus my nursery. So in that many pits, this tractor has done 63 loads. Today, I think the date is September 12th, and so last year during this time, we were really hustling to get our combines hooked up and put together, because I think our first harvest day was probably September 18th last year. That being said, we had some different, I'd say some different earlier maturing varieties, but on top of that, we had a lot drier weather. We're not going to be mid-September harvesting by any means at this point, but probably around that, near the very end of September, early October is when the moisture and the maturity and all the leaves will be gone, and we'll start rolling here. So
It's kind of crazy though. I mean, we're here, it's green, it's lush. I mean, you pull down and there's a lot of beans on one of these plants.
absolutely, there's a lot of
One of
good
these
pods.
out?
Absolutely, yep. I've got a couple here myself too that,
Not gonna hurt your yield too much.
no, not too bad. Not
You know, you look at that plant and holy smokes, look at all the beans on there. But it's still green and lush, and I think you've got some in your hand there too that in a couple of weeks you're telling me this is going to be leafless, dried out, and ready to combine.
Absolutely, it'll be a brown stick standing there ready to combine. And you know, with the cornfield we were in previously, we talk about how the ear fills out all the way, or maybe has a little bit at the top. We call that tip back. So a good idea of, one, how we fertilized and how we planted and select variety, but 2, how the weather was this year. I just looked through a couple pods here, and there's actually a couple 4-bean pods on this particular field as well. So that's awesome to see. That means that plant feels healthy enough and strong enough, and like it's getting enough moisture to push that extra bean in a pod to get from 3 to 4, and that we fertilized appropriately to help it do that. So all in all, it's been a great year, and hopefully we see some great results when it comes to harvest. So on our farm, we do another value-added opportunity. We actually raise seed beans for a seed company. It's a great opportunity for us just because, one, we have the bin capacity, and I'm the young buck that gets to do all the trucking and convey all that grain into the bins. But also it helps us move along our harvest too, because we're fairly close to our headquarters home. We're only about probably as the crow flies 3 miles away. So we're able to keep the trucks moving and putting grain in our bins rather than sitting in a line in harvest time. A lot of people will haul down to Volga is the closest one, about 40 miles away, South Dakota soybean processors. They'll haul whole beans down and dump their load and weigh out, and then they'll turn around and get right back in the meal line and haul soybean meal back to their feed mill. So it's a great opportunity for those farmers to value add their own crops, and instead of haul it off the farm, be able to walk their value off the farm through hogs or through cattle or whatever that may be.
Yep, and I just think it's fun. You know, we look at all these beans. You think about all the different things that this little thing makes. Right? Yeah, they get crushed up, and so they'll go into some meal, which will be largely fed to livestock, and then that's separated from the oil, and then that oil goes and basically is making everything that a petroleum product is making these days, from plastics to tires to tennis shoes to different things. And these little beans, that's kind of the magic bean, right?
Sure is.
And they look really good. Harvest around the state, yields around the state looking good this year.
I think as a whole, the nation's going to have a really good outlook and a really good harvest.
So we're still going to have food come winter and next spring.
We are going to have food come winter and spring, for sure.